Alright guys, just want to do a simple walk around video of the new bike. Excuse the wide angle, I'm just shooting this with my GoPro. This is a bike that, that was built over about the last 5 months by myself at my shop, and it started life as a Qulbix Raptor 140 frame kit that was initially designed for a hub motor, and obviously this is set up as a mid-drive, and it is running two Astro Flight 3220 motors that are vented, if you can see down in there, and fan cooled with my own billet aluminum cooling fans. And the frame's been heavily modified. I cut away this section here, and in order to recess it over to provide chain line clearance for the mid-drive. The chain goes down, and if you can see, there's a freewheel down inside behind the cover here, and then it's braced and supported by an outboard bearing. And so the chain runs forward around an idler, down across the freewheel, up and over a second idler, then underneath this chain tensioning idler, and then back around. Excuse the dirt on the bike here. You can see that the sprocket and brake disc are mounted next to each other. There's about 3 millimeters of clearance between the sprocket and the brake rotor. Standard bicycle derailleur on the right hand side, 170 millimeter aluminum cranks. It actually does pedal pretty well for what it is. The bike weighs 125 pounds as it sits. It is geared for 42 miles an hour, which doesn't sound like a lot of speed when you consider that the bike is about 24 to 26,000 watts. So 34 to 35 horsepower peak, but bear in mind this bike was not built for 4-speed. It was built for hard acceleration, and like a motocross bike, to snap hard out of corners. And so it's got plenty of speed to gear it up, goodness, for probably 70 or 80 miles an hour if I wanted, but I'd lose snap out of the corners that way. The battery pack inside the frame here is a 12-cell series lithium polymer pack. It is 80 amp hours, so it's about 3.5 kilowatt hours of usable energy. So the bike's good for, I'd say around 70 miles of riding, just general cruising, which would be a couple hours of, kind of just cruising around trails and whatnot, or about hour and 15 minutes of hard trail riding. This carbon fiber lower protective housing or cover is removable. I have it on there primarily for the snow here in the winter, and but it's held on with 6 screws. It pops right off just to give a more open, airy look to the bike for summertime riding, and activated by just a high amperage on-off battery disconnect. Charge port is on the right. Carbon handlebars. I'm using a Dominoe brand throttle rather than a typical Magura throttle that most of my previous builds have used. That Dominoe throttle, very expensive throttle, but works far better than anything else I've yet used. So dropout spacing is 150 millimeters. It's wider than a standard, so I had to use a downhill rear hub, and it's laced onto a motoped rear rim. It's 2.5 inches wide. They are 24-inch wheels front and back. The 26-inch mountain bike wheels, there's clearance issues with those. These are stronger, and they just aesthetically they look better. They provide a different ride, improves the handling a bit. So anyway, this is by far the best riding bike I've ever built, and hopefully with any degree of luck, it will not be the last bike. This is bike number 15 in a series of bikes that I've built, but by far the most performance-oriented and highest quality bike I've yet built. So this bike is also for sale, $12,500, which is about the same price as a Stealth Bomber, though the performance on this bike, the range, power, everything is far surpasses. So anyway, if you have any questions, feel free to shoot me a message. Take it easy.